Welcome to ThugCrowd Radio. Please listen to this important disclaimer in its entirety. All participants of this ThugCrowd Radio episode are characters. None of the stories told during these episodes are based on facts, truth, or reality. All works of fiction displayed during this episode that resemble real-life situations are coincidental and are not meant to serve as guides or tutorials to commit any crimes in any country. Please consult an attorney for local laws and regulations. And as always, trust your inner criminal.
Amazing. Always somehow manage to just screw up the audio. I'm just directing it into too many places. That's the problem. Hey, everybody. Yo. What's good? Just gonna turn that off there. Howdy. Greets to everybody. Hi. Welcome, everybody, to Season 2, Episode 18 of ThugCrowd.
Hey, this will be fun. Some good stuff happened this week.
This is a lot of stuff happened this week. We were talking about it last week. It's not a lot of news. We were kind of covering some weird stuff, and we kind of went deep diving into how pseudo works and stuff like that. And then now it's just there are so many different breaches and just horrible things. It's exciting. I'm gonna throw our show notes into the chat here. We're also excited to have Wirefall with us. Howdy.
Evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how there are two of you.
Yeah, I've cloned myself
That's cool,
for the
though.
stream.
Zoom is very spooky. I assume that anything bad that happens is just some horrific bug.
Yeah, it's just like somebody burns an O-Day live on air. Just like, whoa, Zoom.
This is the place where that would probably happen. So,
I hope so. I mean, gotta get that thread intel somehow.
yes, you do. So yeah, so we got a lot of stuff to cover. So I'm gonna. Does anyone have anything cool they want to share before we get into the announcements?
Yeah. I got one of them Pernagotchis put together this week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty. I put it together and I touched the thing and then I turned it on and now it's just burning.
Hell yeah.
Evil Socket's been doing some crazy stuff recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty well put together. There's a couple of things that but I'm sure that he's been doing a really good job and hope to see what comes from it next.
I mean, how much there is packaged into that.
Yeah, it's like TensorFlow on a friggin' Raspberry Pi with an e-ink screen of your choice.
Well, also the 802.11 communication.
Yeah, it's all
the custom 802.11 stuff for nearby communication, and then the pwn mail and pwn grid stuff.
Oh yeah, the whole back end of its stuff is there as well. It's insane.
You knocked this out in a really short time frame too.
Yeah, you really did. Oh, you know what? I forgot to update this. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, it still says episode 17.
Yeah. Shout out to the background. This is Pulls by Rolla. We talked about this last week for a second about this is a what 200 and no, how big is it? It's 256 byte DOS demo. It's insane. It's this whole 3D engine that's just in 256 bytes of assembly.
I don't want to disassemble that. Have fun.
Yeah, good luck. Actually, this demo here introduced like some new tricks to DOS demos themselves for like initializing stuff that saves like a ton of time when you do demos. And it's just like this guy just dropped this demo, and then just it was like also this trick in it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, look it up. Pulls by Rolla. But hell yeah, though. Ponagachi.
God, it
Hell
looks
yeah.
like it. Good stuff.
So I got some announcements to make here. So we got a few things going on. The first one is we are having a 24-hour charity event like we did last year, where we had 24 hours of CTS. But this time we have a pretty ridiculous idea. It's a 24-hour charity hackathon. It's based on Chopped, the Food Network show, where you get like random ingredients and you have to like do stuff. Like a lot of those shows are similar, where you have like a bunch of weird secret ingredients in very short periods of time. So you're gonna have 24 hours to do things. And so if you look in the show notes, you can submit ideas for the challenge. And so the goal is to basically do something like, oh, hold on, that's the team sign up. Oh man, I might have flipped or switched the. Oh man, hold on, 1 second.
Oh, you've hacked it. It's been hacked.
I put the same link twice. Hold on. So I'm gonna update this in the show notes later. Sorry. This here, the link is in this link. I'm gonna throw this back here. Oh wait, this is the edit button. Damn it. Hold on.
Yeah, it's really hacked.
Yeah,
Edit.
really not. You won't be able to edit it, but this link. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this here is the link to submit stuff to the actual hackathon. So basically, the idea is they're going to have teams of people that are going to be working on this project, and it's going to be like it's like a Mad Lib, and so it's going to be randomly generated when we start the stream, and so it'll be like a blank that blank and uses like blank, blank, and blank. And so there's examples like a Bitcoin API that tweets whale emojis at John McAfee and uses Scratch, Docker, and a custom kernel module. Things like this. Online sloth that locks your computer and lets you take a break and uses like Borland Turbo Pascal and SQLite and Node.js. So yeah, basically anybody who has any really weird things that they'd want to see people try to use in a competitive way, definitely submit to this because it's going to be hilarious. So we're going to do it for charity, though. We're doing it for Extra Life, which benefits the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It's going to be a 24-hour stream. Halfway through the stream, we're going to drop the third ingredient that they have to make, and then the winners will be announced later on at some point. But you can donate money. All the information is on those two forms there. And if you want to sign up as well, click either of the links in the show notes because they both lead to the team sign up. So yeah, anybody in here who is interested and wants to test their might with some really obscure things that people suggest from the internet,
We had a little bit of confusion on that though. So between the Chopped and the IoT CTF.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to postpone the IoT CTF. So we had in the works an IoT CTF, which we had not really announced that much, and we're going to do it for the November 2nd stream. But it's actually a lot more complicated than we thought to emulate like 15 different IoT devices and make them vulnerable and make it scalable and also create like these C2 servers and a whole game server. We have a lot of it done, but there's a lot more to kind of work out. And so we have been working together. Huge shout outs to Ilya, or Drabliekos, I think, is that his name on Twitter? I forget. Ilya, though, in our chats. He has done a significant amount of work. Also, shout out to Cedric as well, for emulating a ton of different vulnerable IoT devices. Like each one of these things that they've done already is like worthy of like a whole class on how to do this sort of thing, for like an exploit development class. But this is like being scaled out like a lot. We also have a perfectly contained malware C2 in a Docker container that would be anybody who's playing will be able to use. But yeah, we're going to be postponing it though, and we're going to be looking for sponsors because we're actually going to need a lot more infrastructure and just general sort of things to sort out stuff in like a setting like that. So we're still working that out. We'll have more information about that at some point in the future. If you want to get involved with that though, you can definitely DM at ICTF on Twitter. We have Twitter for that, and we're going to be getting that stuff together soon. But yeah, so for anybody who does want to help out, if you want to participate, or if you just want to be a part of the madness, you can hit us up as well for the chopped thing. Big shout out to Comrade Evie for coming up with this idea. We wanted to make something that they had come up with a couple of different like ideas for this sort of thing, and we're just gonna rock through all of them. So that's the one thing. I'm trying to get people to help us create show notes. So I've been creating the show notes for like a year and a half, and I make new show notes every week. And I would like assistance, I guess, or at least to open it up to people who would want to make something the way that we do, or make something completely different in ways to present this kind of content to people. So if you are interested, you can hit me up on Twitter at NetSpooky. Yeah. And the last announcement that we have is that we have a new chat challenge out, and it's been out for almost a week now, and no one has solved it yet. But the entry point to it is in the show notes at the top of the page. So if you want to get hacking, I would definitely check it out.
Yeah. Just check the place where you'll be at the end, and it's looking pretty bare.
Yeah, I even checked this like canary that I had set up for it, and it has not been triggered yet. So yeah, it's kind of surprised actually. I thought somebody would eventually get it, but I don't know. This is the longest that somebody's gone without solving one of our challenges.
And if you're gonna DM anywhere and keep asking for the Discord, there's not one. This is it. This is what you're.
This is it.
this is what you're looking for. So, Discord.
Yeah, we do not have a Discord. Oh, and yes, I just saw this. Aster XO perfectly contained his famous last words. Yes.
Not bad. I'm not helping you out with the show notes too. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to ASCII ANSI, and I never can finish anything on time.
Yeah, see, I've perfected the art of do everything in an hour. It looks okay, and that's good. Doing show notes has helped me not be as much of a perfectionist because I can't afford to. So I just do it, and then yeah, it takes me like an hour or two, but it's still a lot though. I want to have like good quality content instead of just doing the same sort of thing over and over again.
I mean, we curate the links separately from making the show.
Yeah, you won't have to.
It's a feed in itself.
Yeah, you won't have to do the links if you do the show notes, because we have bots that do it for us, or that aggregate them or help us aggregate.
No, we don't have any bots. We talk about it.
Oh yeah, we don't have.
You gotta have at least 3 Safari, a member of ThugCrowd. Everybody knows.
A member. You need to be indoctrinated. We jump you in literally with a jump instruction, and
it's a short jump, -1 bytes. So there's also a lot of cool stuff in Safari if you want to check it out. There's been a lot of activity, almost more than I could put in here because there's some things that were too interesting for its own. But yeah, check out the iDrac dorks and that Exxon Mobil is probably the most. It looks like a Postgres query or something. And also Zero, your Shodan dark mode is in there as well.
Yeah, that's the Black Hat version of Shodan. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Black Hats only use dark mode, and now they're allowed to use Shodan too.
True story.
Thank you. Thanks, Xara.
All right, so we have a lot of news to cover, so let's jump right into it with NordVPN.
Oh.
This was awesome.
They are going to get absolutely flogged in this part of the show.
Yeah, so NordVPN, the saga of this started out with that tweet that they did that said, you can't. It read like a dollar VPN, like a budget dollar VPN club tweet that said that you can't get hacked if you use a VPN, basically. And
But it was like y'all won't get hacked if you're using a VPN, dog. Like they were trying.
Yeah,
No,
it was
oh.
like,
Hold up, we're about to get a guest Twitch appearance
oh, nice.
from a certain VPN provider.
Oh, awesome. So they tweeted out that tweet though, and then my favorite part was the report from KexSec that just said, "Hey, not our work, but you guys have been pwned for a while," and then just dropped like a link to a leak of all of their private keys, which was already posted publicly, but then they made it more public, I guess, by replying to that tweet. But then a bunch of people saw that, and then were like, "Oh shit! All of these private keys for certs were just leaked," as well as the fact that somebody apparently had root access on some production box of theirs, and then they had to dial back their initial tweet, delete it, and then they have to now address this aspect of it. So, yeah,
My favorite was when CryptoStorm came through with the citations.
Yes.
What a
No,
saga.
people really went in though, because I mean NordVPN and a lot of other VPN providers, I mean that's why like Dollar VPN Club was a thing, was because of the sort of providers that say things like that. But then the fact that they actually, on top of that, already have a security incident that's happened a long time ago, and people are just still using their service, like, I don't know.
But this is the straight case of we're unhackable. You know, the unhackable container. It's perfectly contained, like military grade. Like using all these buzzwords, you're basically saying to people who can break into you, "Lol, you can't break into us." And like they didn't want to do it for the money. They didn't care about.
And
Like-
most of the time, I will not trust a VPN that doesn't log. That's mean there's no IDS.
Yeah, that, you know, we don't log anything. It's like, yeah, and then there's a subpoena, and there's like every log.
The most insulting thing
it's
to
just
me
a
in
bunch
this
of
whole thing
lies.
was didn't at one point they say something like, oh, it was just one server, like we only have, there was only one node out of like 800.
Yeah, it was
or
an
something.
isolated incident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
and then they went
excuse.
into mad like DAP boy backpedaling mode, and it's like, okay, but what really happened then? Because it was either one node or you guys got totally goofed on.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess-
well, even if it's one node, if you're grabbing keys for certs and also somebody has rooted it, it's pretty much game over in that kind of scenario when your whole thing relies on you being able to encrypt web traffic. That's what you do. That's like what your service actually is.
But it's also what I found really amusing is like they've always said that they're military grade. They're on TV saying they're military grade, and I guess they are.
Yeah,
I mean, everything is hackable. It's just a matter of time and resource.
Right. I don't know. I found it funny. Like, so Miss Twitch herself, like the Amaranth ASMR girl, literally has like so I don't know what she has anything to do with internet security, but she does have like a NordVPN like on her Twitch stream on the video, like over.
Oh
like,
yeah, that's fucking widespread now. They
a lot
look
of
for
people do.
YouTubers and shit to promote their shitty VPN.
But
yeah,
but like what they have, these people aren't security experts. They're not even like IT pros. They don't even assemble their own computers. Like, let me just sell you the VPN.
No, I mean, there's a lot of so I watch a good amount of YouTube stuff, and that's like my least favorite part, and it makes me like not really respect the people who are making the content when they're like, all right, so before I get into this top 10 anime betrayals, I gotta tell you about NordVPN, and then they just start saying stuff that they're like almost worse than a marketing person because they are not informed at all, and they're just getting paid for their livelihood on YouTube, and so they're just saying like weird stuff, like they're like, this will protect you from hackers, everybody, like your ex, like all this stuff like that. Hold on, who's typing that? You Amos? Can you mute that mic?
Amos is like slapping them keys.
Oh shit, my bad.
No worries.
But yeah,
it's tough because that when you have that sort of like community advertisement as like one part of your core advertising advertisement to people. That is what spreads a lot of the disinformation that becomes canon with a lot.
Yeah, and basically people got a false conception of security. Everything is hackable. I prefer a provider that's gonna have transparency, that's gonna tell, oh, this happened, instead of lying about everything.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
though,
and
like
here's
what
the
a
thing,
VPN means. You
in
know,
retrospect too, you only get one chance to do the kind of message that you need to do in a breach like this. You know, like I don't know that anybody ever really expected NordVPN was going to be uncompromised perpetually, but you know, like you have an issue like this, and you royally just screw up the way that they did on the messaging, and you take a lot of the confidence that you had and just burn it just right there.
Yeah.
I think though a lot of their
There's no going back.
A lot of their customers aren't going to switch because they'll be like, oh yeah, but I already have a VPN. Yeah, it's fixed now. I never had, like, they didn't read anything. They probably didn't read those tweets, and they just maintain a large part of their customer base because they're the people who have been watching YouTube.
Yeah, and a lot of time people, like, they're gonna trust what is written on the website.
Yeah, then you're not going to Google which VPN provider is the safest, because all of them protect you from identity theft. They protect you from credit card fraud. I don't know what else do VPNs.
What the fuck, credit card fraud? That's stupid.
They protect you from Wi-Fi hacking.
Why?
They protect you from car accidents.
Those reasons are so stupid.
They protect you from getting canceled on Twitter.
Shadow. You'll never get shadow banned if you use.
Basically, they just obfuscate your location. Yeah.
They protect from 8 and 4chan. Yes. So no, there's a lot of disinformation about it. It's really tough to get the messaging out, especially because when you're in the circles like we are, we're really preaching to the choir. Like nobody in our chats is not technically.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you guys have a fucking Atmos paranoid with everything.
Yeah. Well, like so.
Well, I know the ThugCrowd Twitter account, recommended here's how to easily set up your own VPN, and that's great for anybody with any technical acumen. But a large majority of people who are trying to use these don't even have that. One of the recommendations I had, I may have inadvertently recommended NordVPN at some point, not by name, but that they operate out of Panama, which basically there isn't a mandatory data retention law, and there are no extradition. Basically, they say "fuck you" to the U.S. Whenever supposedly. So that's a positive. What will we recommend? Say, oh,
yeah, but that can be used against the user as well.
I think
because what are we going to recommend if you're saying, oh, you're stupid for using this because they had bad marketing or whatever? Well, what's the average user supposed to do?
I think for an average user looking at something like Rise Up, or one of the, they explain exactly what they do. Like there's a
Rise Up it's not even their product.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna see what are these people getting out of using a VPN. Like, what are they real? Like, I'm not gonna get DDoS on Xbox Live and my ping's gonna be shit. But is that what they're really after? Like, why?
I think that sort of thing though is what is lost on a lot of people who think because of marketing they need a VPN for whatever reason. And while it's not, it's like, we did share links to setting up your own VPN, and that's great for some people. But yeah, it's definitely not realistic for the average user who just wants privacy but isn't necessarily a computer person. But I think the most insidious thing about all of it is the marketing has actually ruined a lot of the ability for people to actually get good information.
Those company abuse of a mistake that ISP do. They sell their customer information.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help.
Yeah.
Well, either way,
the moral of the story here is that Dollar VPN Club has a new gap in the market, I think is what I'm hearing.
I think it's important to remember that when you already. So who can see your traffic in, like, the case of VPNs? Like, yeah, the VPN endpoint and whatever's coming through. All right, your ISP can't, but your ISP has your docs, and your ISP, like, you literally pay them money. They have a connection.
Yeah, but it's not only that. The DNS is in plain text. There's a lot of shit. Like your DNS could get poisoned, but yeah, that's not the problem of average people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So if you're an average user, there are scenarios where it's better to not use a VPN, just use your regular ISP, because it's their job. Like, they're, not that they're good at it, but that's not also to say that, like, as we've seen right here, that these paid VPN services aren't any better at securing a network than your ISP are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's tough is that it's hard for the average user to know what the rubric is for a trustworthy VPN service, right? Because people are saying, I want privacy, I want security, I don't want to pay a lot of money. And those kinds of things are the driving factors to what make their choices. And so then when something comes along, it says like, oh, for like $1 or whatever, you can get unlimited, DDoS protection and like, your
this remind me antivirus market.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same sort of thing, but like that's what's tough, is it just hard to fight the disinformation of marketing, because marketing people have a budget and we are just here.
Yeah, and there's money involved.
Yeah.
The thing,
So it's very difficult to actually recommend something to somebody, even people that I know that aren't very technical, that are like my friends and family. It's hard for me to say what to do,
Well, the thing that's interesting to me is that I think that people have an understanding that VPN is something that they might want. Like, that wasn't a market that really existed before, 5 years ago? Like, it to the scale that it exists today. So I think this is something, but whether you're right, there's like a sliding scale of security, but that nuance doesn't exist for the people who are in this market. Like, they just want something
but that's
cheap
deep,
and
and
what they
again, like
conceive as reliable.
there's some of my friends who don't care about that. They just want to Netflix on the computer. That's all they're gonna do.
Random people don't think about threat modeling, like the person who's gotten hyped into marketing that decides that they need a VPN doesn't really have the like steps in mind of what is bringing them to this consensus. We're in like a society right now that's very reactionary. Everything that we see is like fear driven and paranoia driven, it seems like.
That's what the gov want. If you fear,
VPN providers are a simple solution that you can roll out across a bunch of virtual servers, and then all you have to worry about is shilling that service to random people, and then you start making money. I mean, the idea that like this was an isolated incident with NordVPN is real funny, because if they're really doing this service at scale, that this is going to be deployed the exact same configuration on n number of machines out there. So if someone was able to root one of them, I mean, there's nothing stopping that person from rooting all of them,
Yeah.
What up, Ansible? Like, where the puppet at?
Where the puppet at?
Forget threat modeling. The average person has no situational awareness, period.
Yeah, that's the thing. People are kind of brainwashed. Oh, I need this. Oh, I don't need that. But in reality, it just doesn't understand the technology.
Yeah. I think that it's really sort of like our job.
And again, another thing, people gonna use VPN, but their DNS gonna be in plain text.
A lot of the clients these days are just like wrapped up, packaged OpenVPN clients, right? Like, so most of these are.
I don't even use OpenVPN anymore. WireGuard is twice faster.
Seems like everyone's doing those IPsec OpenSwan installs.
Well, I just do like multi-up WireGuard VPN.
Like
IP table, I'm good.
StrongSwan and OpenSwan is like raccoon. Like, all those IPsec clients are just like mad painful.
Yeah, I don't do that at home. Fuck off.
It's painful,
I'm way too
and
lazy.
it also is not compatible with a lot of what I've been needing it for, so can't use it.
Yeah, too much of a pain. for nothing. Of course, if you have like VLAN, multiple machine, okay, IPsec might be a good idea. But on the home network, where you got just your Wi-Fi, your wired connection, that's a bit too much.
Yeah. Oh, so we're it's 10 o'clock now, so we should maybe get into the second news item here.
Let's go.
Which is
Rip
also
VPN
related.
companies.
Yes. The next one also has to do with a VPN. But this is Avast, who said that people had breached their internal network through a compromised VPN profile. So this one is interesting because this is a second attempt at hacking CCleaner. So CCleaner was backdoored, was it 2 years ago? The builds were poisoned, and they pushed out a build that I forget what exactly it did, but I know it was malicious. That's all I
Basically, their key was compromised, so they could push updates.
Yeah. So this is the second time that this has happened again. I don't know. This doesn't seem like it was actually breached or actually like maliciously poisoned, but yeah, this has happened twice now, and it's an interesting target because I want to know who's using CCleaner that they know uses CCleaner. You know, it's like a lot of work.
That's stupid, but there's probably millions of machines with the fucking software installed.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because this now, like so it seems that the response that they had to this, right, for changing all their signing keys and changing user passwords and everything, there was still a way to get back in because they had taken other ways of getting onto, the corporate VPN here. And yeah, I mean, that's a pretty nightmarish scenario because you don't know what else kind of data they have and what they might have taken to have persistence again.
Yeah, data. People don't realize how much data worked.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's like suspected to be Chinese state-sponsored APT shit. Like, so I guess the target in mind already like profiled and recon their target, decided that they come to the conclusion that they definitely use this, and it's worth compromising like the whole CCleaner platform in order to get to their targets.
Yeah.
But, like, does this come with Avast? Like, I don't know shit.
I don't know. I used to use CCleaner because I'm not good at Windows, and when I'm like, there's a lot of junk files.
Windows is fucking complicated too.
Yeah, but no, I always liked that kind of software, but then I have stopped recommending it to people because of problems like this. But yeah, it's just an interesting thing that this specific program has been targeted because Avast makes a lot of other projects as well. If you're already in that sort of network, I mean, I guess if you know what that sort of build pipeline looks like, that might be an easier target, but it's interesting.
So I wonder if this is like CCleaner is really like truly loved by a lot of people who maintain endpoints and maybe don't have the kind of security apparatus that they might need. So this is the kind of thing that ends up on a gold disk and then ends up in like every machine in an enterprise. So wouldn't shock me.
I wonder if their stock did drop before the hack, because maybe they can do this to their own company themselves. First, they will gather clicks. Two, if they did something under low, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's definitely. Oh, sorry. What were you?
Do you trust the?
I was
gonna say, like, yeah, trusting vendors and stuff. It's always difficult when you're installing trusted software into.
If you can't read the fucking code, don't execute it.
Yes. I'll see you in.
Sadly, most computer users can't read the code of any application, whether they have it or not.
Yeah, all 26 million lines of the Linux kernel.
No, fuck that.
Start with the manual.
But yeah,
that's why we need Redux.
We just have to have it programmed into our brains. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though. To see this sort of thing is still happening with CCleaner, and I guess don't use it. I don't know. Hopefully, someone just has a cool PowerShell script that just does it for you instead. So we can go on to the next story here too. This is Feds busting one of the dark web's biggest child porn sites thanks to tremendously bad OPSEC. So if you hadn't seen the story earlier, the DOJ put out a bunch of stuff, or they put out an announcement about shutting down this website. This is insane that this person had this whole operation and they were using their real name and phone number and credit card to take out stuff on an American Bitcoin exchange.
What?
Oh, Atmos, can you turn off your mic? Thanks. It's like you're just opening a bunch of cans of soda. So yeah, no, the person who had ran this site had used their like real name and information to cash out payments for this website.
That's it becomes like
it was
beyond
a JavaScript issue, wasn't it, on the main page that allowed them to get the IP addresses of several of them that were in the range, and it was in South Korea, correct?
Yeah. So they were able to basically enumerate like through Bitcoin payments, and ultimately through the fact that the person had been using their real information to receive payments for this. It's just pretty insane. But I mean, fuck them. I'm glad it came down. But it's insane that was like the reason why.
And on the announcement, did you see the reporter that had received a tip? Basically, I think it was 2 years prior, had been holding it the whole time, because the hacker group that had notified him, they couldn't access the site to verify it, of course, for reasons. But it actually ended up being legitimate. But they were there 6 months after, evidently, the feds had started their investigation. But I think it really goes to show the concern of vigilantism that could have completely destroyed the entire investigation.
Yeah, and that's like the tough part with stuff like this is, it's already inherently fucked up, and then people are going to want to take action against it. And so anybody who does find something in there, if you're security minded and also have morals and want to fuck up this sort of thing, it's trivial for you to do so. But
burn them alive.
Oh, how did you get what?
I just hope FBI can actually get these guys this time, because they don't have a great track record the last few years.
Yo, you fucking catfish one and chop his balls.
I mean, that's one of the problems though, is like these investigations go for some time, right? So the feds might be watching the whole time, and vigilante hacker comes along though, and like puts their foot in the investigations, and like RM's one of these guys or whatever, and now that evidence was just about to make sure someone goes to jail forever, disappears. So it's like, once, like, I know a lot of people are drawn towards like just taking them down themselves. Like sitting on it for 2 years is a long time to sit on it, but I guess like police got to do police.
Yeah, anyway, they can do, if they bust like a smaller one, they probably just gonna waste their whole investigation.
Yeah, and you know what? When police are doing this work, it makes me a whole lot happier than when they're chasing security researchers.
Oh, for sure.
I just hope that they don't have the same issue that happened during the Playpen investigation, because that was just, I thought that was pretty sloppy.
So what happened during that?
So this is a couple years ago. They were doing an investigation on a similar kind of like child porn forum, and if I remember correctly, they co-opted it. So they did like a takedown of the infrastructure and just made it, they put their own added value onto it. And then they used their own proprietary exploit and payload to compromise people who would go to the site. So, and this is all, I'm doing this from memory, so I don't know how much of the detail I'm getting perfectly accurately said here, but they ended up taking a couple guys to court. And when the defense demanded to see the copies of the exploit and payload that they used, FBI provided the payload that they called the network investigative tool, but not the exploit. And so they ended up having to throw out the whole case because the defense, demanded to see a part of their investigative technique and they wouldn't give it up.
Shit.
That sucks.
From my understanding on this one is there's no doubt that, I mean, they took down this South Korea operator. It was being hosted in his bedroom. So there's no issue on that. As far as the Johns go, I think that was the Bitcoin correlation, right? So they were correlating Bitcoin transactions with that.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually an exploit.
Yeah, good. So it sounds like the target is different for this one than it was for the playpen because they're actually targeting the visitors.
What I like about this story, though, is that they've made it perfectly clear that Bitcoin transactions are not private, and the ledger is public. You fools!
Absolutely.
But
It's always been.
it's always been, yeah. But it's
There's lots of great stuff hidden in the public ledger of
Sound
Bitcoin
like.
too. So many good ASCIIs, so many good pings. It's filled with joy and wonder.
There's also some terrible things hidden in there as well. But I think, isn't there an ASCII image of Kaminsky?
Correct.
Hell
The
yeah.
blockchain. There's there's virus signatures in there as well, just to make sure. Like, I'm pretty sure the blockchain, it's like the Bitcoin blockchain. If you sync it, at one point it was RMing certain people's wallets and stuff.
Yeah, that was the greatest move ever that someone just threw out there. They were mad that they lost a bunch of crypto, so they got those signatures in there. So I forget, it was like 3 out of 5 major AV vendors were just removing anything from the ledger completely off people's computers.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was pretty early. That was a good one.
Imagine the person like fucking looking at his computer, his whole money just got fucking RM. Shit.
Thanks, McAfee.
Papa John.
Let's skip over this other story because we're kind of running low on time here for the news and talk about this botnet that made $115,000 in 5 months from those sextortion emails. So the people who are behind those emails or sending those emails have they made pretty decent chunk of change from doing that. So if anybody hasn't seen it before, basically this email that says that you visited a naughty website and I had your webcam on and I recorded you and I'm gonna send it to everybody in your contacts, and it's just like so stupid. And it says like send like $400 in Bitcoin to this address.
Oh, that's what.
Someone let me look
That
up.
was
and
that tape
there's just
sound.
no
Atmos
thing.
was taping together his fat stacks from this campaign, right?
What? Yeah, I
Rubber
guess.
band money.
So yeah, I mean that's a
rubber
good amount of
band
money
with the
from that,
DNS.
because they were only asking for like, what is that, 400 or something like that. I think a little bit less than that, which is a decent amount of people, because they spammed these all over the place. I had one of my emails had so many of them that would just, I don't know, they had probably the same email list that they were just sending them out to. But yeah, these emails were pretty prevalent for a while and very annoying. And
we
very
get a Krebs laugh? I think we need a Krebs laugh for this.
What the fuck?
So, yeah.
What the fuck is that?
That's Krebs laughing.
So yeah, this was propagated through malware, which is pretty interesting too. And yeah, so this is definitely, I don't know, if you're trying to make $115,000 in 5 months, I guess that's one way to do it.
No, but then what's the lost opportunity cost? If it's burning malware or whatever, $100,000 really isn't that much. What could they have been doing?
It was like an old campaign that had been around for a long time, and they took another older piece of malware and pulled it in. It was like a public Trojan that had been around a long time. They refactored their code and brought in like another piece of malware as a library asset. And they were grabbing the user's window password and like showing it in the email to somebody or someone. So it was like a scare tactic in the second version.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
I mean, that's all it takes is this. You put the fear into the target, and all of a sudden they're doing backflips.
Yeah, you gotta drive the herd.
Yeah, I mean,
For
we had a guy
NordVPN.
this week who he's gonna be smashing pots for a while trying to find some rupees.
Rupees. Some story of Hyrule.
Oh.
Hyrule
definitely-
Twatter.
If you did have a botnet of this size, you definitely could make probably more money doing something other than extortion.
Yes, especially when you're terrible at it.
Right.
Spam tech career.
Absolutely. So this next story here, also pretty interesting too. It's more of I'm in the Goodreads section, but this is about phone companies this phone company NPC that was just run by a gang. And this is the always thing that I always suspect with the privacy companies and the phone companies is that they're just run by criminals, because who else can fund like a cell network and like other things like that you would need for perfect privacy on sketchy custom Nexus and Blackberries.
But they had like dual boot modes, and they had like physically removed cameras and stuff. Like that's kind of
there's a lot of
stuff
R&D that went into it.
Yeah, like I actually would like to get a phone without a camera sometimes, and like without listening like Siri or Google listening 24/7.
That's why I don't own phone, because that's not a phone.
That's the tough part, though, is that when you buy those kinds of things, you don't know what horrible syndicate.
That's the thing. Like, if they were selling me a smartphone, I will get one, but that's not a phone.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was basically just goes through the history of these phones. It's a pretty long read.
I miss my Nokia, for real.
You can get it back.
I mean, at the same time, though, you can still like do.
It's not great
from the towers anyway, like from the cell towers. Like, something it doesn't have to be on the client to get the details. I guess like tracking people from even just like the cell they're connected to when they make a call, or or when they ping the tower, like being totally inactive. So I guess the moral of the story.
Well, let's say that like just the tower and everything, the 5G, 4Gs, LTE, all those fucking network are flawed, like by design. It's stupid.
Yeah, just take your phone and leave it at home, and then go do your crime in person.
I don't have phone.
Yeah.
So it's
How do you call your getaway Uber when you're done with your crimes?
True. How do you call your home?
I was a big fan of this as part of the story where a British hitman got caught with his phone because of location data from his fitness device.
Yes, that's the best part. It's just like you got snitched out by your like Fitbit.
Linux on my Fitbit.
That's some serious business, though. They like car bomb this dude, like to get back to them for it. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting story if you want to follow up.
It's like a gun to the back of his head, and then the guy didn't pull the trigger and like ran away. There's like surveillance footage of it. Like
at least he didn't hack Amazon for Prime. ILSEC.
Yeah. So we should move on to the next one.
Yeah, we should move to the next one, which is Equifax used admin as a username and password for sensitive data. This is coming out of their lawsuit, or class action lawsuit. So part of the lawsuit, Equifax employed the username admin and the password admin to protect a portal to manage credit disputes. A password that is a surefire way to get hacked. It's a lawsuit.
Oh, it is wrong? Let me change my password.
Yeah, I think you may have hacked Equifax in a CTF, like any CTF that you've ever played.
I mean, I'm certain there are a lot of CTFs are definitely a bit harder than that. So yeah.
Hopefully.
But yeah, no, that's another just sad detail out of this, and hopefully Equifax does get.
I'd like to ask the question of why was it admin? Was it that it just had not been hardened, or the biggest hack basically I've had in my professional career was 21 million names, socials, date of birth, everything basically you need for compromise from an Oracle server connected to the internet with default credentials. Now, there were like 8 or 9 servers that were providing services for this application. Only one was vulnerable, and the reason was because it had an issue and crashed, so they restored from backup. But the backup had been done before the hardening.
Oh.
So there could be multiple processes that contribute to this. It may not be that they just don't have hardening. There could be a lot more details, I think, than just saying,
absolutely.
they suck because they did admin.
Well, I think that we all kind of came to the conclusion, or at least I think many of us did, that there's just a culture of bad security, like baked into Equifax after the breach.
I mean, if you're a sysadmin though, and you get told, "Hey, put this box up," and you put it up, and then you've got 25 other things to do, and you just forget about it, like it's not uncommon.
No, it is true. I mean, how many tickets have you left to rot on accident because you were like tired already and like burning out, and you're just like, oh shit, I forgot to change the password on the
But that's like
the one guy.
That's like what auditing is for, and that's like probably a lot of their problems could have been avoided if they had actually gone through the process of doing something like auditing.
Yeah, that's true too.
Well, and the restore from backup, I think, is one of the unique. The restore from backup, I think, is one of the unique ones because, I mean, if you look at PCI requirements, you're required to have another pen test after any, quote, significant change to the environment.
Yeah.
Well, it's restoring from backup a significant change. It doesn't, for most organizations, I think they'd say no, but in this case, that's what allowed the compromise,
Yeah, and that'd be a configuration change. So
yeah, I would say like restoring from backup, you would assume would be restoring to a point after the test. But at the same time, I think there's definitely been like tests that people have done where there's not a, and maybe they didn't test every single like login screen because they only had time to test like 50 out of 100 servers or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's a 5-day window. It's like a shitload of apps, and you're the guy because they're gonna pass PCI. And they're going to pass PCI. They're not going to fail it because they got money.
The DSS specifically says that it has to be like a standing infrastructure, that like you get that infrastructure pen tested and then it stands till your next penetration test. But like in today's cloud-driven market, it's like completely infeasible since the servers aren't bare metal a lot of the time these days anyways. So like
when you have
I wonder
serverless,
oftentimes like what is
how is serverless a stay environment?
Yeah, like how do you get around that kind of stuff? I think it comes down to the fact that it's like when you get one of these audits, it's like a whirlwind affair where like they come in, they do the penetration test, you show them all the stuff, you give them all your logs, they look at what you give them and they say, yep, you met all the requirements. But like if there are 100 other servers that they don't find or scans or whatever because you hide them really well or something like that, like the auditors, it's not like they do their best too, just like everybody else. And if you don't show all of your hand, no one's going to really know what's all there. And I often wonder, like the accreditors, probably it's a service that you pay for more than a service that you earn a lot of the times, especially when you're a huge business like Equifax.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same Apache Whisk install, right? They're not the same functions, but that's fine.
And like standing infrastructure, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me anyways, because if you are doing your due diligence and you're patching and you're adding new updates when vulnerabilities come out and you're doing things, you're making changes to those systems. And every new piece of code that comes in, a new vulnerability comes out of that code. So it's like a constant like repeating process that goes on. If anything, like PCI audits should be happening not like twice a year, they should be happening quarterly or monthly or whatever as like an ongoing process.
You should always have like some audit day rule and mail incoming. You should be like STIG compliant on all your bugs. That's something. If rule are not placed, it's not because something did reset. That's because there were not like proper rule in place.
Yeah, I think with a lot of infrastructure as code stuff as well, it's very easy to see what you want, but in the configuration, but you often miss what you don't want being left in configuration. After your elite Ansible script is run, maybe it didn't configure everything.
Well,
That's
like,
why
like a blip in the
usually,
network or whatever.
Yeah.
Packages don't finish installing all the way you expect them to, with like self-healing infrastructures in air quotes or whatever. I mean, a new server could come up and not fully bootstrap
System
and
D.
your stack. People don't often put like catches in those things that say like, if this didn't complete or this didn't meet all this criteria, I want you to try again. And after so many times, like kill myself off and try and launch another server. A lot of the time the script is just procedural, like run these commands and your script, I'm ready to go as long as port 80 is up or whatever.
Yeah, you didn't like one variable for like standard error, and you did completely miss a thing with like Ansible or some other configuration thing. There's so many different things that can go wrong in like enterprise stuff like this, especially like just by hacking together stuff. It's like not like you like lose visibility on certain things. But yeah, that's definitely, as Hexadecimates said, where auditing comes into play. Just auditing, especially for PCI stuff.
Yeah, aid, audit D. Those are
there's a lot of-
important.
Yeah. Or even just security audits in general, just as a cursory thing, or having an idea, I guess, for asset management, something like that. Those are all things that come into play. I think the main point that I thought was interesting about that last story, though, was that specific thing that admin was used as the credentials was named in the lawsuit. It wasn't just we lost our identities to these people.
Yeah.
It was a specific vulnerability that was pointed to, which is interesting.
Lawyers know how to do slaps in the face too, just like anybody else.
So we're coming up on 3 minutes left until we're going to do a little break before we do our full interview with Wirefall. But I kind of wanted to go for this last story here, which is like as Risky Business would say, the skateboarding dog. This is Samsung. Anyone's thumbprint can unlock a Galaxy S10 phone.
Nice.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely an ultimate fail. But did you see also the Pixel that's going to be put out, I think, in a day or two? They removed the fingerprint because they were so sure of their facial recognition, so you can't even do fingerprint. And the facial recognition will identify you with your eyes closed. I don't know how anybody else here sleeps, but
yeah, what?
Nice.
The Google Pixel 4, which comes out in a day or two, yeah, it will recognize you with your eyes closed on the facial recognition.
That's really scary.
That's
a lot of people are going to have a lot of games on their phone soon.
Yeah, well, it's like the whole under duress thing where phones are not supposed to unlock. You look like you're under duress, but you definitely are under duress, and it opens up. Like one of the things I like to do when I was like working in the last office I was in, is like went up to a couple of people and just showed them their phone and it unlocked for me.
So this
Thanks.
is going to be like a blessing for anybody who commits a crime and then gets investigated on a phone like that, right? Because they've had problems getting people to comply with fingerprints. What do you need their fingerprint for? And you can just take a picture of their face in the interrogation room.
The fingerprints isn't that big of an
Problem
issue
solved.
either, because you can be compelled to give your fingerprint. You can't be compelled to give your code. That's
Right.
Fourth versus Fifth Amendment. So yeah.
There's new laws in Australia as well that they're trying to push through at the moment, where if you don't hand over your passphrases to a phone or a computer, you just go to jail, even if you're not under suspicion of a crime. So that's
What the fuck? That's sketchy.
It's not a law yet, but it'll be here soon.
I mean, it's like it's resisting arrest, but without the arrest component, I guess.
Yeah, like you're resisting a search. And what am I being searched for? Absolutely no reason. But yeah, fun times.
Isn't that the way it is in the UK? If you refuse, then you're guilty of what you were charged with. I thought I read that.
Well,
I hope so. I mean, I hope so.
Didn't Samsung have a problem with their last fingerprint reader too? That someone was able to like Xerox like a super detailed version of their thumb and then hold it up to the scanner and emulate the thumbprint with like a heat lamp or something like that. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they work with anybody's finger if they worked that way too last.
It's just interesting because there's a lot of technology that's gone into developing fingerprint readers, and then for some reason something happened where they just doesn't work anymore.
Like the latex thumb, I would think that where they take the fingerprint and they use the adhesive and then like latex over the top of it to build like a mold, put it on and touch it. I'm pretty sure that that's still a thing. That's like it's like old spy movie technology. It's like 70s shit.
Yeah.
OG biometrics.
All right. So we should take a quick break here. We'll be back, I guess, in like 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll interview Wirefall. So I'm gonna put on some music real quick. And all right, we'll be back in a second.
Right about now, you're in tune to a man like DJ Vibes in the house. down with a vibe. Sounds of the vibes, drop it easy.
We're back. We're back.
Yo.
Hello.
Yo.
Back with Krebs.
That sounds like a break. It sounds like a snare.
Sounds like a train.
So hey, what's up, everybody? We are here with Wirefall. What's good?
Everything or nothing. Your choice.
Yeah, we're binary in this bitch.
We're qubits over here. So 1 second. All right, hey. So Wirefall, hi. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you very much. Appreciate being able to be on here. Look forward to talking with some actual legitimate hackers.
Computer hackers, real life.
Hacking in real life.
Yeah.
Emotional 2019. Yeah, so I guess, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do and maybe talk a little bit about DHA?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Wirefall. I've been doing actually active penetration testing for since the mid 90s. The first pen test I was ever paid to do was actually 2 years before Nmap, so that made me feel really old when I was looking that up. Right before Nmap was published in was it Frac? I think it was Frac. Anyway, I am the founder of Dallas Hackers Association. I'll go into that a little bit more later. I'm a board member of our local B-Sides DFW, which if you are in the area or even if you're not, first Saturday of November, so November 2nd. And now that I've told you that, we're sold out. Sorry. Don't show up. But yeah, I'm also the chief consultant of Telesploit. It's a side gig I have that came from my history in producing drop boxes for social engineering engagements. And Telesploit will be the training provider for the North Texas ISSA Cybersecurity Conference 7 on, I believe that's the 15th of November. So I'll be doing a 4-hour training there of building out Raspberry Pis as drop boxes using Telesploit open source. We have a source version because we are built on open source. We completely support open source. And this has been a source of inspiration and consternation for me because I have never done at scale. We'll have 75 people in class, 75 Raspberry Pis, 75 unique configurations, and in a room that I found out just recently has 6 outlets. So that will be a challenge.
You're gonna have to have a lot of
you really need one of those.
Lots of power plugs plugged in, lots of power plugs.
Yeah, fire hazards.
Make those breakers work.
I don't care if they do. That's not my problem. But yeah, so Dallas Hackers Association. Let's go in a little bit into that. DHA we started May 3rd, 2013. That the inspiration for that came from 2 things. One, I did a lot of work in the state of Texas down in Austin. actually still involved in that, but at the time I was actually traveling down to Austin every week. And there's a great group there called the Austin Hackers. You'll get different versions, whether it's association or anonymous. I think the consensus is anonymous, but they were basically the first Ha, the Ha that spawned them all. And what I loved about that is, you know, these people that were there at the time, you had HD Moore, you had R Snake, I believe Druid, a bunch of really, you know, well-known folks, but they didn't want it to become a fanboy network. So it was come and present, or don't come at all. You could attend online and participate in the forums and stuff, and they would give you a pass. But if you just lurked, you were persona non grata. And so it was really community oriented, you know, community driven. You had to get up and talk. Everything was a fire talk. It was 10 minutes. If you went over 10 minutes, they at the least would heckle you. They may be physical violence. But the majority of it was that, you know, you participate. And I really liked that, because what I saw up here in Dallas, Fort Worth area was at the time very much, you know, the talking head, which that's fine. You know, an hour and a half of one person talking on a subject. If you happen to like that subject, you're in luck. It's a good night. If it was PCI DSM and that's not your thing, your night pretty much sucked. So with the talk aspect is that, you know, first of all, it's bringing more of the community in, but also if something's bad, then it's bad for a very short period of time. So I just started up thinking, basically, you know, there'd be maybe really my hope was there'd be a dozen, maybe 24 people that would be really cool, and we could talk about cool shit, kind of like what ThugCrowd here does. You know, you're all having a good time. You're all talking about stuff you enjoy, and that was my hope. And initially, but it was you know, I got what I was asking for. They maybe a dozen people in the beginning. Had some really good discussions. In the very beginning, it was me talking a lot because, you know, there's only a dozen people. A lot of times folks ask me how you start the community type thing. And really it was, one, first, just do it. But the other was to a venue that had on Wednesdays, which we meet the first Wednesday of every month, they had half price wings. So I bought lots of wings. And I really think
yeah.
Dallas Association is successful because there were free wings.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You know, an army marches on its stomach, so do hackers, right?
So that's a really interesting point, though. Sorry, you going?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I really appreciated that point where you're saying about getting people to be involved in stuff, because doing community things, like community relies on, like, you know, interrelations, and having a community, like you're saying, trying to not have just fanboys of different people kind of show up and try to mingle and you know, basically brown nose and try to get up in the scene or whatever. You want to actually see people doing real things and actually presenting things and finding their passion and contributing to like the betterment of the industry is a really, like, awesome way to build community.
Yeah, like,
absolutely. And I was not worried about the fanboy part here in Dallas because nobody gives a shit about me, but really of inculcating, you know, bringing that to that. This is what you make it. This is your opportunity. Here's a small group, local group, your friends, your colleagues, you know, get up and talk to them. Then the next steps, we've seen multiple people come from DHA to other, they go out to our local DEF CON groups, or we have a number of other groups, North Texas Cybersecurity Group, Pwn School, Phil Wiley, who I hope you will have on here shortly. I'll introduce you to him. Yes. He's been with DHA since the first meetup. he started Pwn School, all these other groups, and then they go to those groups. They then go to our B-sides, DFW, and talk. And one of our folks, the Uber Kitten, he came from DHA to B-sides and has done DEF CON. So you just see this trajectory that it's launched from the local environment.
Yeah. That's awesome. We have a question actually from the Twitch chat. Melon Clock asks, any ideas on how to encourage group participation without just forcing people, especially for newer folks?
Yeah, that's difficult. AHA forces. We call ourselves a kinder, gentler AHA, which Mobhead, who leads that now, will say that's bullshit. That doesn't exist. We say it does. But and really, I don't know if there is an answer in that we really have probably a 40 to 50% turnover every month, even though we have between 100 and 150 people come out every month. A large majority are the first time. And I think that's because I had TinkerSec on here before, and he can be a very vocal person. He yells at people and tells them, here's your pass next time you're talking. And I think they just don't. So, what's that?
It can be intimidating, though, if you've never spoken.
It can, and we have multiple modes. What we do is when you have the sign up sheet, we started off with no sign up sheet because just holy cow, somebody's going to talk. Great. Now we have a sign up sheet because we have more talks than we can actually process for one time. But it says, is your presentation less than 10 minutes? The options are yes and yes, because this is a fire talk. You don't have a choice. And are you a first-time speaker? And we prioritize first-time speakers over other people. So otherwise it's first come, first serve. But we prioritize first-time speakers because we want new people to get involved. And then there's a column for troll mode. For all of the organizers, myself, TinkerSec, Whiskey Neon, Commander OPSEC, or Lockpicks and Lipstick, Mobius, that's always on. You troll the hell out of us. But if you're a new speaker, you can choose that, and if we will honor that. If you say you just want to get up and talk and don't want anybody to say anything until it's Q&A, we'll respect that. But given that, just do it. We have an individual who comes out to multiple of our local meetups. That's from Tyler, nearby, somewhere near Tyler. That's multiple hours away. He's a high school kid, and he came out and he finally gave his first talk. Absolutely fantastic. Showed code, did a live demo, which seasoned presenters fear live demo. He did live demo. Yeah, and it failed. It failed spectacularly. He continued on, talked about what it should have done, walked through the code, and absolutely amazing. Great job. He's like I said, a high school kid. If he can do it, you can do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people, often think that being a first-time speaker, they don't have the content to necessarily show these people that have been attending a lot, that they're a bit worried maybe. And I think, yeah, you're right. Just that's what you got to do. Just do it. If you're going to stand up and talk about SQL injection or some burp plugin or something that everybody already uses, the best thing you can really do is just be pretty clear. And it's 10 minutes, right? So what can you fit in 10 minutes?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just be really clear and get the things that you know out. The things that you know you're right on. Don't try and get fancy. Just do it and get it. It'll be done.
One thing that people can do too, who are interested in speaking about things that are relatively basic, is speak to meetups that aren't hacker meetups. Developers really want to hear about SQL injection. It's not obvious to them, and that is both a public service and a good way to help you practice.
Hell yeah.
Well, And like Tinker always says in the beginning is, don't talk to the audience, talk to you. If you've written your first Python script, talk about that. Now, a lot of people tune out, but guess what? We have a 50% turnover rate. A lot of people might be interested. If you're talking about something that's so elite, it's going to blow our brains, go ahead. We'll go look it up later. You know, talk to what you're doing, not to the audience. Don't try to dumb it down or make it more elite. We have we call him our Professor Emeritus, Woody. He's been coming since very, very early. He was a pioneer in the old day. He wrote a paint program on 5 1/4-inch floppies that he sold. Right. Freaking amazing. He actually brought in a Cocoa color Commodore and demonstrated it at one point in time. But he wants to be relevant. And so he, while at DHA, learned Python, and he's also a ham radio operator. He got a job through, I don't know, one of the social media type things to program, because a lot of these ham radios can be programmed via serial. So he wrote a Python program to automate the frequency jumping of this radio and made money.
That's awesome.
He was happy as a clam. Yeah. And he loves crypto, and you shouldn't roll your own crypto. He does it anyway. And yes, if could it be broken? Yeah, of course, but he's demonstrating the things he's learning in the process of doing that, and that's all we're about.
That's awesome.
Definitely. That's a good point on roll your own crypto. Everyone does say don't roll your own crypto, which in production is 100% true. Don't.
Yeah, but if it's for learning,
you're not using it to like replace Signal. You're not using it to replace TLS. Like, screw around with it.
Yeah.
The only way to get good at anything is practice.
Yeah, for sure. No one fucking started a language and knew, it worked right off.
Yeah, I like what you're saying though about having people just speaking to what they're learning and not being concerned about whether or not it's like the most elite thing. Because there are people that like there's tons of things that I would love to see a beginner course on by somebody who's just there, who's able to talk after, to ask questions and say, hey, like I was trying to learn this too and I couldn't figure out this one thing and I gave up. And they might have the exact thing that you spent, weeks looking through documentation and Stack Overflow, never found it, and they might just elucidate it to you like
that's true.
Like moment. So that's really awesome.
And
that's one of the things we encourage it for speakers as well is it doesn't have to be a prezo of what you've done. It's going to be what you're failing at and asking the group for recommendations. We expect that you've Googled it, that you've tried different things. But,
anyway, failing is the greatest experience.
Absolutely.
Because you learn the most from those, and like people should stop seeing failure as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you can do is if you're learning about a thing and you're excited about learning about a thing, you could just tell everybody about what you're learning about, and
that's what I do.
Where you're at with it.
Yo, but before I never talked to.
If it's one of the very basic, talks, let's say this is a hello world for Python, and that person's very excited about it, great. And you're not because you're a Python guru. We really are a mini con every month. So we have a room for Crypto Party, so you can go in there and contribute to that. We have a room for lock picks, lock sport. We have a CTF every month.
That's nice.
So you can go, hey, this talk's not for me. I'm going to go down here and hack for a while, or pick some locks for a while, or go into the hallways, or go into one of the side rooms because we're in a Korean karaoke bar. It's freaking cyberpunk awesome. And have another conversation, or do something else, and then come back when the talk does interest you. We have video streams. Not always. We've had some issues, but usually video streams into the other rooms so you can watch there. And it's a good time.
Do you get a lot of people giving the exact same talks, like different people giving the exact same talks on the same topics?
Not really. We've had the same people within the community give talks at multiple venues. So like our local DEF CON group, North Texas Cybersecurity, Dallas Hackers, giving a very similar talk or the same talk. That does happen. Really haven't had collisions on a night or even that I can remember within a time frame at DHA. So
that's really cool though. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's it's a good thing to share, like what you're doing. I think that's what we try. I guess it's kind of what kind of happens here. Like we share stuff, I guess. And
at most share.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard though sometimes because to get people to really feel comfortable sharing, it's like you have to create that sort of welcoming vibe.
Yeah,
or a vibe that's like a tough love vibe. Like, hey, you're gonna share. You might fuck it up, but we're still gonna love you. We're gonna eat wings, like whatever. Like, that's the kind of stuff that like people like. It's not hard to do that, you know. It's not like it doesn't cost.
Definitely, a couple of things. I think the challenge is that one is, and then in the Twitch, Pixel Kicker asked, how do you pay for the venue? How did you find the venue? I think the two most difficult things as an organizer. One is venue. Honestly, it's very much so. It's very difficult to find a good venue. We met at a local bar just because it was a local bar to me. We went. I was driving by like the day or two before our next meetup and noticed the plywood over the doors. Realized closed. We had to find another place. That place was fantastic. We were starting to outwit. But actually, one of our first rule of DHA, for anybody who's been there, they know it. They recite it back: is don't hack the venue. And the reason we have that is because we were kicked out of a venue. That second one, we were actually allowed back. I was not there. It was one of two of the 77 meetups we had that I could not attend. And the owner said, "You have to promise me that this will never happen again." They actually had credit card fraud committed. It was from when we were there. They had an open wireless network with unpatched Windows 95. I'm like,
hey boy.
I cannot guarantee this will not happen. If I were a malicious actor, I would be waiting for the hacker group to come to do this, to cover my tracks. But you're just lucky this doesn't happen on a daily basis. So we had to move. We found this fantastic venue. Like I said, family karaoke, this Korean karaoke bar. But the venue is incredibly difficult. When you get that, that's golden. The other, though, which you were bringing.
What I heard from that was that you should wait until DEF CON to go to where all the hackers are to do your dirt from DEF CON.
Absolutely.
They'll never catch you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
It's a rule for everyone.
No,
I often wonder if
but the other one
like security people specifically
entropy is the
gear
best
up
thing.
honeypots before that time, before DEF CON happens, to try and catch people specifically hacking the casinos.
I'd say definitely.
I would.
The other one, though, that bridging the gap of new versus seasoned is really difficult, and it was actually one of the things that pushed me to start DHA, which was there were other groups that felt very exclusive, that you come in and you're not part of it. You can tell it's a clique. There's these established relationships. That's fine, but you don't feel necessarily completely welcome. Bridging that gap of, straddling that gap of you want to be completely inclusive. You want everyone to feel welcome. But the only reason they're going to come back is that it's something special, that they feel in, or some sort of specialness
or
of being part of the group. Sorry, what was that?
I said, or they had friends that were already going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. To introduce them, but otherwise, what you want is to be inclusive, but at the same time somewhat exclusive, because it has to seem special.
Oh,
if it's
of
not
course.
special, why would it be anything? So you need
Just
to have
like
the inside
website
jokes.
invite only gather like more attention. People envy something that is closed.
Tinker always jokes that we'll get 150 people there, and he's like, how the hell did you find out about this? We only advertise on the dark web, meetup.com.
.com. That's a good one.
So that's difficult, and I think I hope, and the feedback I've received has been that we've successfully done that. That we're very welcoming. That people of all backgrounds feel very welcome there, but also that you want to come back because it does
That's a bad
feel like
stigma
you finally
around
belong
hackers
somewhere.
community.
Yeah, well, you feel like you finally found that beacon that you aren't alone.
Oh, for sure. But there's a thing that I kept saying, like, that's exactly what the government want, that people fear each other, stay in their corner, they won't share. I think people should restart, like, experiencing, not trusting people, but I don't know. A lot of people won't even share a file because they're scared.
I know we've actually had a presentation at DHA by the FBI. I got a lot of flack from that,
Oh shit.
But honestly, I would rather them engaging us than not engaging us, because otherwise we won't know.
True. If they did want to spy, they wouldn't go talk directly to you. That will blow up the cover.
Yeah. But also, what if you work there? Like, so say you work at the FBI and you're obviously interested in computer, and you live locally. Sounds like a great place to go. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we do the same mantra that all hacker groups do is don't talk about illegal shit. Everything you did with permission or on your own network. Tinker always does the look left, look right, look left. That person's an FBI agent that's trying to make their metrics. Look to your right, that's a black hat hacker that just wants to get into your network. That's why he's sat next to you. You really need to keep up your OPSEC, but otherwise, I don't ask. I don't care. Just don't incriminate. I don't want to know illegal shit. But do we have white hats? Lots of them. Do we have black hats? Absolutely sure of it. Do we have FBI? Yes. Share information. That's all I give a shit about.
Honestly, all this ad thing is pure bullshit. I say people just change. It's matter of the situation.
Circling back a bit, though, I think that idea that you're talking about like community is one of the most important things with these hacker meetups. It's pretty amazing.
And the value that the one recommendation, I get a lot of new people coming up and asking, how do I get into this industry? And it's difficult for me because I came from very long ago when nobody was doing this. And so, I mean, the logical answer would be, well, invent a time machine, go back to the .com boom, and you're good. But realistically, because now there's you can get a PhD in cybersecurity. It blows my mind. But they are doing the number one thing. You're here. You're at a local meetup. I preach networking all the time, not Cisco kind, but actual person kind. I've seen so many people's successful careers launched through these local meetups, because when it really comes to security, I think one of the I think we might go into some social engineering stuff later, which I have this idea about, but really I sell trust. I'm decent at what I do, but I'm not elite like many hackers. You know, I'm not daily creating 0 days. But you can trust me. My background, honestly, is military law enforcement. My sale is that here I can do these things, and you can trust me. Now here's somebody else that can produce a 0 day, you know, every week. That also is on all of these, you know, Carter sites or whatever. Do you trust them in your network? That's your call. It's fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't trust them, but that's your call. I deal in trust. A lot of security is based on trust.
Yeah, it's just a
And
matter
people
of the
that you
ink
get
card
to
that
know,
you have.
people that you get to know personally, that you've seen present, that you've had a beer with, that you've talked intimately with, you know who you trust. And when you have a position, that's who you're hiring.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
So we did mention social engineering a little bit ago and drop boxes. Do you want to expand a little bit about what that is and how those are used? And then just social engineering we can talk about throughout.
Sure. Well, I got into building drop boxes because I hate social engineering. It's very trivial. Like, you know, you've had a TinkerSec on, you've had Jack Hyde on, you've had I Commit Felonies on. It's trivial to succeed at this. I mean, I'm not trivializing their capabilities, but they have commented, you know, about how easy it is to accomplish many of these things. And I have stories similar where, you know, it's just basically shooting fish in barrels. But it always still bothered me, that social interaction part. So drop boxes were a way for me to basically, if I can get in quickly, then I can put this box in there and get out and not have to deal with people again, because that's the part I didn't want to do. And initially, so initially they were surreptitious drop boxes, that, you know, you didn't want them to be discovered. You wanted them to blend in. I would build these out in the very beginning with a Wi-Fi Pineapple. I think it was Gen 2, because it had the two Ethernet ports, which allowed for a perfect bridge. And then my preferred encasement hiding spot would be within a copier surge suppressor, because they're fairly large. You can get these new for like $300-400 or on eBay for $20. And all you have to do is find out what kind of copiers the organization is using, and you can get one of those, I can almost guarantee you, on eBay. So you get a Canon, you get a Icon, you get whatever they're using. You pull out all the innards, because you don't care about surge suppression. Route the power across all of the power plugs, just in case they plug anything in. And then instead of the phone surge suppression, which they have, or the Ethernet one, you basically go straight through from one port to the other port in the Wi-Fi Pineapple. So you get behind the copier. All you have to do is, you know, get in. And often they're in the coffee break room. So you get in there, you unplug the copier, plug it into this. It's plugged into the wall. Unplug its Ethernet, plug it into this. Plug another Ethernet cable from the other port into the wall. And the beauty of these things is, I don't care what company it was. Again, Canon, Icon, Fujitsu. All of them in giant letters said, "Do not plug without authorization. Do not unplug without authorization." Nobody's going to touch this. And now it's transmitting. I did have it on it with a 3G dongle. So now it's transmitting. You don't even have to get past the firewall. You can go in out of band, and you're on the network. And most of those copiers aren't going to support NAC or any of that, so you don't have to worry about that. And that's really where the Dropbox, where I got into Dropboxes, was because it allowed me, if I could get in, I can get in quickly, I can place this, and I can get out. I don't need to hang around. You know, Tinker had his great story about being the sprinkler investigator and spent hours there. I've spent hours behind customer lines. I've actually spent entire weeks there. My preference is get in, post this, get out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. One of the things that I like about
you get a yellow jacket, get in, get out.
They've added a nice feature everywhere called Power over Ethernet. So Dropbox is
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so all of that, the experience, I've been doing that for about 8 years. I developed this solution based on being a pen tester for so long. I've traveled a lot. There was a 1.5-year time span where it was every day. I was flying out on Sunday afternoon, flying back Friday night, basically do laundry on Saturday, kiss the wife and kids and go on. That sucks. There is depending on who you listen to, a very low to negative unemployment rate in this field. So as a company, how do you attract people to work for you? I know how you'd attract me. You'd pay me lots of money and I wouldn't have to travel. So the concept behind Telesploit was solving all the problems from a pen test perspective of doing internal pen tests remotely. And that included the out-of-band management, remotely changing configurations because the clients will never give you the right information the first time, all this other stuff. So we developed that, and because we're built on open source, we also have given back, and you can go to GitHub/Telesploit. There's an open source version. It'll be updated here shortly because I've found some issues while doing this training stuff for North Texas ISSA. But you can build your own for your personal use or for a small to medium business that you have, a Dropbox that you can basically use. You can put it on a Pi. We use basically a Intel NUC platform is our platform of choice. And you now send a box. You don't need to go there. And how many organizations will use a pen test resource to do, like, let's say, multiple external pen tests at the same time, double, triple dipping. You couldn't do that with internal because you had to actually be on site. But now you can actually do, 3 different clients, or one client with, let's say, 4 different locations. We're doing that right now with a customer where they have 4 different locations, but one tester is doing all 4 locations. What I really like about the idea, though, is when you start talking about red teaming, of red teaming from the perspective of bringing in experts to do one specific thing. And now you can have one deployment and you can bring in your best database person, your best web app person, your best, network protocol person, and all put them all on the same device to do a single test without having them on site.
That's awesome. So I did want to ask you something. We only have about 12 minutes left. And I really wanted your sort of your perspective on how things have changed since you started here. So you're saying that you did your first pen test in what, 1995? As soon as you started getting into that?
Yep.
That's a long.
95. Yeah, it was about 95. Yeah.
So I mean, just from your perspective, I guess, since you are now seeing and you're actively involved in communities where you're seeing a lot of like young hackers coming up now, people getting into this sort of field. Like, what are some of the most striking things, I guess, that you've seen in your career as far as like anything goes from security to community? Just kind of want a little bit of perspective on that.
Sure. Well, I think number one we already touched on before just I was able to get into it because just nobody was doing it. My background, I had a history in computers back in the 80s as a kid, with dial-up acoustic couplers and figuring out random didn't mean random in BASIC and killing everybody in Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of stuff, to getting out of the military and coming back from Europe. I was stationed over there for 4 years, and everybody was talking about how the web was going to just change everything. I didn't know about it. I'd been offline basically for 4 years. And so I got a local dial-up account with an ISP. And what do? You just start poking around. And literally every single person that was connected, you could connect to their hard drive. It was like, no, this is not going to take off if this is what you can do. And I was wrong. It did exponentially, regardless of the infrastructure. So I started out just really wanting to secure myself, and trying to learn how to do that. And from that, it was because it was the .com boom. I could not just spell security; I could just say it, and you were an expert. I mean, my first consulting gig. I came through the ranks, but my first consulting gig, I was sold as one of the quote preeminent security resources. And no, I just didn't want people to connect to my hard drive, connect to my ISP. There were no magazines other than 2600 and FRAC. There was no dedicated, you didn't have all these information security groups. So that's been a huge change. You can get a PhD now in cybersecurity. Now, is that a valid thing? I think there are good uses of that, but I know a PhD. Not a PhD, sorry. I know a person with a master's in cybersecurity that I've had to review documents because they don't know how IP addressing works.
Excellent.
Now, I'm not saying that's necessary. In cybersecurity masters, but it seems like it would be something you would learn. So, there's definitely things we're losing in the conceptualizing of security rather than the actual technical side. Yeah. But to get short, I know we're running out of time. The one thing I do constantly say to these people, to new people or to anyone wanting to get into this industry is don't get into InfoSec. Bring something to InfoSec.
Fucking right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you all have specialties. Bring your specialty, whether it's sysadmin or programming or focus on the new technologies. Because guess what? You're going to run circles around me in cloud. I'm trying to learn, but if that's your native environment, you're going to do so much better than me trying to learn it. So
that's why
yeah.
I love new shit. Like, it's boring to always do the same shit.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of ground to cover, and that's a really good perspective with people, because there's people that come from, a lot of talk about diverse backgrounds and people saying that I could never be, X, Y, or Z because I was previously like ABC. Like, those things are completely like interminglable. Like, you can totally take any background and, anything that you've done as a side project, anything you've done as a hobbyist, and take that and apply it in completely unexpected ways, which is like what hacking is in general. So, but yeah, that's
you can have a degree in psychology and be a much better social engineer than me. Definitely.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So yeah, I guess we have a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on or shout out to before we get going?
I will send back the love to. I did listen to the TinkerSec broadcast and send back love to him. I'm so glad he's part of our Dallas Hacker Association organization. We're really lucky here in DFW. I don't know where each of you are located, but I've been into a lot of areas, and you can usually find something security related wherever you go, but we have a overflow of, I go to 5 to 6 meetups a month, and I could go to 2 to 3 times more, but I have a life.
Yeah.
It's fantastic here. We're just so lucky in DFW. If you're anywhere in this area and you've not come out, please do yourself a favor and do us the favor and come out and learn us.
That's awesome. That's really inspiring to hear too, because there's a lot of people that want to find those sort of things in the area, and it's a lot of it just comes down to like you making it, like you creating it, and it's cool to see, or hear from you your perspective on how this sort of communities get built like organically, and that's awesome. That's really inspiring.
Well, and we did. We did make it. That's the thing is if you don't see exactly what you want, not necessarily exactly, support your community. It doesn't have to be, but if there's something that you're not seeing in your community, somebody else is not seeing that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so build it, and they may or may not come, but if you offer free wings, there's a good chance they will.
That's always a plus. Hell yeah. All right, so should be getting off in a second. Does anybody else have anything to say before we get going?
I want to hear Zero's story, just as an outro.
Sure.
All right, gather around, kids and skids, while I dox myself. Back in the day, we had these things, as we discussed earlier today, called dial-up computers, and we didn't have ISPs. We had local BBSs. If you called a local number, just like any other phone number, you didn't get charged. If you called long-distance numbers, you did. It wasn't later until my BBS career that I found out about redialers and blue boxes and the things that you could do to call long-distance BBSs. So we called up, my cousin and I, we both had computers. I didn't have a modem, he did. I would go to his house and beg him to use his computer. We guessed his dad's password. We would get on there and we would dial up the local BBS that we had. We found a text file that had a ton of different numbers for other BBSs in them. And we didn't really fully understand the machinations of calling a French BBS and seeing all kinds of text files in French or whatever, and not, fully understanding what was on the screen or whatever. We dialed all these numbers, and we eventually got onto some Finnish BBS that had a bunch of English text files. And the rumor at the time was that the Anarchist Cookbook was specifically written to blow people up. And there was another one that was an Amiga disc that was called the Jolly Roger Cookbook. And it was supposed to be the real version of that. So on this Finnish BBS long distance, my cousin and I spent however many hours downloading this like 275-page text file. And we decided that we're going to make plastic explosive in his backyard. So we live out in the rural countryside. We didn't do the directions correctly either. And as we were sticking the packing peanuts down into the gasoline that was mixed with oil next to his dad's tractor, we wired up the battery from the tractor directly, and then like a string over top of the tree to put the hot wire in. We stood back as far as we could and we dropped that wire. Huge explosion. The tractor blows up. The tree comes uprooted. Glass all blown out in the side of his house. Every cop and sheriff, local FBI agent in town come to his parents' house. We're like swatted out. We're laying on the ground. They interrogated us for like all these hours. The whole time his dad's computer is still connected to this Finnish BBS. After all these hours of interrogation, they completely believed that we were some sort of foreign terrorists. We were like 10, 12-year-old kids at this point, and they were asking us all these wild questions, and they were 100% sure, and they interrogated us with and without our parents for hours and hours. And eventually they told us they were going to give us all these felony charges and all this stuff, and eventually a lawyer showed up and said, these kids are minors, you really can't charge them, but they're going to be on watch lists forever. And that's the story of how my cousin and I weren't allowed to see each other for the next 12 years, and how I had to pay a $600 phone bill to Finland to download a text file.
Oh yeah,
dude.
Very nice.
As another Jolly Rogers veteran, shout out to the bad kids on BBSs.
Hell yeah.
That was a great story. We'll have to have that as some special feature or something. That was really good.
That's awesome.
So
I'm really glad that we have our local terrorist on the call.
So
you have too many white hats on the show. You got to represent both sides, you know.
So we won't be on next week. We'll be preparing for the Chopped Hackathon, which I updated in the show notes, the submission page. So if you've not signed up and you would like to, definitely sign up for it. If you are not into coding, or you just want to see other people suffer, you can submit your ideas for the challenges as well. And shouts to wirefall. Thanks so much for coming on and hanging out with us.
Hell yeah.
who came in and hung out.
Thanks for having me.
And so yeah, we won't be on next week, but we will see you, I guess, for the 24-hour stream. So we'll see you then. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Night. And also, yeah, shut the fuck up and get a lawyer and get a blue box for your BBS days.